Okay, let's get going on tonight's meeting. It is the November 24th, and we've got the regular session of the County Council. We're going to begin the evening with Kevin Hamilton from Harvester Christian Church is going to lead us in invocation. All rise, please.
God in heaven, it is a great honor and privilege to lift this symbol to you. And I pray for great wisdom tonight for these leaders. I pray you would honor their decisions, but even more so honor them, God, and the conversations, the decisions, the appointments that they will make tonight. God, also on our minds is the tension and the conflict in our community, and we have a desire for calm, God, and I pray you would help us through that. I pray you would work through the hearts and minds of reasonable and rational men and women in these next few days to lead us through. God, may your will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. In your name, amen.
Amen. Appreciate that. Dave Hammond will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander. Councilmember John White.
Okay. Next, we have public comments. This is the part of the meeting where members of the audience are welcome to come forward and talk about any county-related issue. Once an issue is introduced, we'll alternate back and forth with pros and cons on that. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. Is there anybody that would like to address the council tonight? Yes.
Good evening, members of the councils and citizens of St. Charles and anyone else who may be watching. My name is Michelle McBride. I'm the St. Charles County Collector of Revenue. I thought I would come tonight to give you an update on the 2014 property tax bills and Project CARE, which you charged my office with administering when you passed ordinance number 1340 last May. Property tax bills have been online since November 14th. The paper bills started mailing last Thursday with about 50,000 real estate going out on Thursday, another 60,000 on Friday. The balance of the real estate and about 80,000 personal property were dropped at the post office today, and the remaining personal property will be dropped at the post office tomorrow. Some of the new things this year, obviously, are Project CARE. When you get your bills, some of you may have gotten your real estate bill already. There are the check boxes for Project CARE, $1, $5, and $10 donation. Those are also visible on the personal property. And so that people could do it online, we have a new mobile website with a QR code, and we're going to have some signs up around the county. And there are also some flyers up at the front of the room here for anyone. This will take you to a website. You can learn more about Project CARE. Through this website, you'll be able to make your tax payment as well as make a donation to Project CARE online. So this is a mobile device website. Just like the new county website has been made mobile friendly, we've done the same with payment for taxes and donating to Project CARE. The other things that are new this year that people may be interested in knowing, and if any of these, whoever has a district with City of St. Charles, you may hear from some of your residents because we are collecting the Newtown NID this year. So some of those people, they all got a letter from the City of St. Charles explaining that that was going to be on their tax bill this year. It still may come as a surprise if they didn't read that letter. The other thing, the City of St. Charles implemented a $12 water line fee. City of St. Peter, City of O'Fallon already do those fees, but this is the first year for the City of St. Charles. In addition, the R6 school district, which is the City of St. Charles School District, back in April passed propositions S and L, so that equated to about a 45 cents tax rate increase for anybody in the City of St. Charles R6 school district. The other tax increase that everybody in the county will notice will be the 11-cent increase that the ambulance district also got approved back on the April ballot. So while the 2014 values for real estate are the same as what everybody's 2013 bills were, some people will see an increase in their real estate taxes due to the various rate increases in the county. And that's it. Have a good night.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate you coming forward and sharing that with us tonight. Anybody else like to talk, well, first about just taxes and the new system of paying them online? Okay, anybody want to address any other county-related issues? Mr. Dinoff?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of council. AC Dinoff, public advocate and resident. I first would like to start out that we all need to pray for the city of Ferguson and St. Louis County and the entire metropolitan area. So we all know at 8 o'clock an important decision is forthcoming in the deliberations and the decision of the St. Louis County Grand Jury. There's unfortunately been a threat seen on social media that protesters plan on invading St. Paul and other parts of St. Charles County. So I would hope that we are well prepared and that we stand up and make sure that property and residents are secure in their homes. Let's pray for Captain Dave Todd and the Special Operations Division of our Sheriff's Department, the County Tactical SWAT Team, and all of our law enforcement officers who will be offering a helping hand to our neighbors in the city of Ferguson, the city of Clayton, and St. Louis County. I'm asking the council, it's time to be transparent and come clean. We own a current county building at 400 North 2nd Street, right next to our courthouse. It's an empty building. It's been renovated a number of times. The last people to occupy that building was the WIC division of the health department, and then FEMA with the tornado last year. Let's use that building instead of ongoing negotiations for a $650,000 building, which is 4,400 square foot building, which is kind of like a Taj Mahal, located at the corners of 3rd Street and Monroe. That building will cost $650,000 plus another $700,000 in renovations to bring it up to compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and install an elevator. I would now like to alert the general public and citizens of a lawsuit that will be heard in a jury trial in St. Louis Circuit Court with a presiding judge from close to the Iowa border that was appointed by the Supreme Court. It's cause number 1111/CV08953. It's Mary R. Benefield and Chris Benefield versus St. Louis County, Rich Krismer, and the County Election Authority. Unfortunately, there's another employee that was fired recently. There's going to be another merit commission hearing and another lawsuit on the horizon. This is a continuing pattern of malfeasance, employment harassment, human and civil rights violations against employees within our election authority. It continues to go on a daily and weekly basis. We have a new person who was hired less than 6 months ago, and there's more harassment. I encourage all citizens to attend and hear the truth of this jury trial. The county has offered a settlement to these people, and they refuse it because they want the truth and the true facts to be known to our 400,000 county residents. Enough is enough. We need fair elections, and we need our election employees to be treated fairly. This jury trial will start December 3rd over in the County Circuit Court, and the testimony will start on December 4th.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anybody else that would like to address the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll move forward in the agenda to the oral report from the county executive.
I believe Jennifer has a report.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to speak with you this evening about the completion of the county's master plan for the new site located behind the Sheriff's Department, which will be housing a new emergency operations and communications center. You'll recall, I think it was about 2 months ago now, I did a review of what information we found during that course of that master plan exercise in terms of needs, what are the areas that we needed to be planning for in the future, and we'll go through some of those again as a brief refresher tonight, but wanted to show you the product of that master plan document. I can share a lot more with you. Actually, I should get a hard copy of that and send that down to Donna so that you've got the full report, but wanted to walk through some of the highlights of that for you tonight. Maybe.
So you said that report is out?
It
or
is,
done?
it's been completed, and we're just going to go through some of the highlights this evening.
Okay.
So-
In the future, if you could, get us a copy of it before, or at least so that we can have
Sure.
a good discussion about it.
No problem. So the purpose of the overall master plan document that's been created for us over the last couple of years, actually now with Ross and Berrezzini, was really to understand the project criteria so that we can establish a baseline to guide our own future development. You know, it's not an architectural plan. It's not in stone as to what it is that we will desire later on to be able to build, but it's really just a plan to be able to help us identify what are our current needs and how are we going to address those needs going forward, and focusing on really two things: space requirements to make sure we've got enough square footage to address those challenges, and then adjacency, so which operational entities need to be working alongside one another. So we've had a group of stakeholders that helped work on this project over the years. Sheriff's Department, from both Sheriff's Dispatch, Emergency Management, Cybercrime and Forensics, both obviously had participated as part of our data gathering process to help us identify some of the challenges that we had. County Dispatch and Alarm, emergency radio staff, and then Rocky Morgan and the Building Division helped guide the process from his side of things, along with the Executive Office and Office of Public Information staff. So the key needs that we had covered a couple months back that we were really looking at needing to be able to address here in the near future: Emergency Operations Center, evidence storage, dispatch operations, cybercrime, and a data center. And some of these needs can be addressed in a new building. Some of them would not be needs that we'd want to address in the same building, given some of the other recommendations they've given us. So this is I showed you this photo the other day, or a couple weeks back. This is the site. There's no difference between those red and yellow parcels. That's just when you go into the GIS system and you want to highlight 3, you get the initial one that you highlighted in a different color. So those are our 10 acres located behind the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department is the building on the far right in the lower portion of that photo. And here's the site plan, and all of these are going to be challenging probably to see on the overhead. But our site plan that Ross and Berrezzini has helped us to develop is really trying to accomplish a couple of things. One, within the site, give us enough space that really can flow over to the Sheriff's Department, where it really becomes more of a complex feel as opposed to a standalone building. Addressing the new facility that they're recommending for us in terms of that emergency operations center, radio, and dispatch, and then also making sure that we've got the space to be able to address some of those other needs that they're not recommending putting into the type of structure that we need to build for a secure data center and dispatch center. So you'll see over on the far left-hand side of the picture, there's an arrow up in that left-hand corner. That would be the secured access to the site. We're really looking to be able to achieve a perimeter security, blast setbacks, so that you meet a level of standards I won't go into too much detail about, because that's really more of Rocky's thing than mine, and we'll go through a listing of some of those. But really, this is wanting to be able to achieve a building that can be accessible 24/7 and really withstand a variety of wind, blasts. We'll go through some of that list when we get there. The middle portion of the page, you've got another arrow that shows a vehicular entrance. That would be a public entrance that would not be gated, so you'd be able to pull into that area, access public parking, have access to a drive that would flow back over toward the Sheriff's Department to the east and the south. And then allowing for, because of the layout of those particular 10 acres, we do need a large section available for detention. And then you'll see in the far right-hand side of the photo, they've showed us a couple of options that, depending on how we would potentially develop that side of the site, we may have some interest in moving the helipad. Currently today, the helipad's actually located further to the south. Then you can kind of see the outline of helipad number 2, which is the circle just there to the south next to that set of arrows about access to Sheriff's facility. laying out a couple of locations on that parcel that would be flat enough to be able to locate that there. If you've got a picture of the site today, there's actually quite a bit of trees that are along that northeastern portion. You also have a very steep drop-off there, so there are some things that we have to deal with as it relates to that particular site. But they are showing us that we would have the potential to build another possible building on that site that we would potentially look at including for evidence storage in the future, or another use that doesn't need to meet that same requirements as the other hardened building. So in terms of some of the requirements for this new facility, we're really needing to focus on, and I mentioned this before, that we're really looking for some shared workspaces that can be used for a variety of purposes. So the county meeting room space, again, we really don't have anywhere where we can gather large groups for any type of meeting west of 94 and 70. We're needing lots of training space available, both for the dispatchers, a lot of variety of radio training that is constantly going to be going on that we'd like to use that space for, and as well as emergency operations, who does host and coordinate trainings for those throughout the region. One of the things two things here that we'd really like to be able to achieve in the new building in some shared space is a joint information center, or a JIC. Today, we don't have a location in county government or in any of the municipal governments, with the exception of, from my knowledge, really the city of St. Peters, where we can gather a group of public information staff to be able to monitor media, respond to media, and do it from all in one location with access to those types of media. So being able to have that facility and space, we went and toured Greene County in Springfield and their new facility that they built a couple of years back, and they've got a dedicated space for a JIC. And it's a room that really is kind of set up like a training room, a couple rows of some tables and chairs with lots of wired capabilities within the desk there, so you can really just walk up with a laptop and have access to anything and everything that you'd possibly want. But it's a dedicated space, and we don't really feel like we have a real need for that kind of dedicated space all the time. So we're really looking at, and you'll see, we really kind of anticipate wanting to be able to use some of the training rooms that are available for public use throughout a normal operation, that be transformed into a location that we can house a JIC when the Emergency Operations Center is activated. Another item that we are really interested in being able to achieve in the new facility is a call center. So if we needed to be able to provide a location for the Red Cross, municipalities, others, to be able to host a call center where if people are calling and they have questions, we'll take the tornado, for instance. I mean, our call volume in St. Charles County government in the days after that event was pretty high. People looking to see, what do I do with my tree debris? What do I do with this? When are people going to pick this up? How can I get access to this particular location? When can I start applying for permits, that sort of thing? And we don't really have a good means of being able to staff that outside of our usual phone trees. And in some cases, that has to cause us to make some changes to that call processing to be able to handle that type of volume. Having the ability to kind of staff that up with a variety of administrative assistant staff on that particular event afterward would give us a place where we could help generate or respond to some of that call volume in a more timely fashion. Other items that we're really looking to achieve within this space are a media room that would be on site. I think we had discussed before that, in the Emergency Operations Center in the basement of the jail today, outside public access is very challenging, and so we can't really host any type of media-related events at that particular building. A location where we'd have scalable on-site food preparation, so that if we do have a 24/7 activation that goes on for an extended period of time, it's not simply about eating the granola bars and candy bars that we can keep and make sure that they're always good. Really needing to be able to make sure we can keep that type of operation functioning 24/7. Looking to have a policy area that's going to be separate from the EOC staff offices. Again, if we have a full activation within the EOC today, the direct line staff who are getting things done and the staff who are helping to guide some of the decision making are shoved into one very small little area where everyone's trying to do the same different tasks on top of one another. And having a separate policy room is something that we've seen in both St. Louis County, Greene County, and a variety of other locations that would satisfy a lot of our needs that we have today. And as we talked about on the data center, the new emergency radio communication system, we've developed a data center on the 3rd floor of the administration building. It doesn't meet all of the requirements that we feel like we want it to be able to achieve for over the 20-year period of that particular system. So we're looking to build a new data center at this particular site. In terms of technology, I think it's kind of have some things listed for you here in terms of like the proximity to the radio towers, but we have a lot of access at that particular site because of the location of the current sheriff's department today and some of our planning that's gone into the microwave system, siren system, and the Gateway Green Light program. But really another thing that we'll need to be sure that we focus on within this new facility would be cellular communication in and out, so that you're not in a bunker that you don't have any cell service. We can make sure and address those types of needs. I think I've talked a lot about already, but the monitoring of multiple media, improving the site access, again, so that public and both those who are coming and manning the EOC during an activation, Red Cross, all of the other volunteer organizations who would respond, have much easier site access than trying to get into the secured jail in order to be able to get to the EOC. And then one of the things that we've seen a lot of that would be really important within this type of facility would be some video conferencing capabilities improved beyond what we have today. This slide, I'm actually just going to show you this slide, and I'll have to leave Rocky to come back at some point to talk in further detail. But we're really looking to be able to achieve, I think this first one is the blast setback requirement, so that you can withstand certain types of pressures from the outside and not have it otherwise impact your operations within the building. We are looking to build this facility to an EF4 level to withstand tornado winds. We do not have one of these facilities located in St. Charles County today, and we feel this is an important level to be able to build to, because when we're asking dispatchers and emergency operations staff and radio staff to stay in place regardless of what's going on, they need to be in a facility that can really protect them and allow them to do their jobs. I don't know a darn thing about the electrical items, so I'll have to leave that to Rocky for later. But when we look at all of those issues that we want to try and be able to address within the facility, we're looking at 40,000 square feet worth of space. And it's actually, go ahead and mention this, Ross and Berrezzini, who I think I had said was the architect for the new St. Louis County facility that was built and they've now moved into in the last couple of months. It's actually larger than the St. Louis County facility. But in part, we're trying to address so many of those other outside shared uses that St. Louis County site you're not going to find there. You find an emergency operations center there, you find their radio operations center there, and you find a dispatch center there, but you don't find training room space and a lot of other common media meeting space because they have other locations for that in the area that was not needing to be a portion of their project. So now we're going to get into some pretty pictures. This is primarily the first floor, and we're going to go ahead and just jump through section by section that hopefully when we blow this up is a little bit more useful. Okay, so this green space in the first kind of location when you would walk potentially into this facility, all of the green is the emergency operations center space. So we've got an emergency operations floor, that's room number 102, if you can by chance see that, but the area that has the 7 tables laid out on it. That allows us to break up all of our emergency support functions better than we do today. Right now, our emergency support functions are really just all consolidated into one long table, and this gives our law enforcement, fire, public information, and all of those other supports separate workspaces where they can talk amongst one another. That first space just above that in the drawing is the policy room that would allow for staff to be able to get together, allow the county council, the county executive's office to be able to have a closed meeting space where they can help guide some of the decisions and guide the direction of the emergency operations staff who are working in the adjacent room. You've got one primarily breakout space there over on your right. We've got space that's allocated that's really going to be quite flexible in the future as to its location, but electronic storage and communication storage. And then over down in your left-hand corner is our day-to-day emergency operations center staff space that does accommodate some growth. And then you'll notice just to the right of that, it says municipality office workspace. When we started this project, we had been having some conversations with the city of O'Fallon as to whether or not they were interested in consolidating their dispatch operations into the same facility as ours. At the same time, we discussed with them whether they'd want to consolidate any of their emergency operations activities. They have one staff person in their police department responsible for emergency operations in the county, or in the city, and he works out of a very limited workspace in their public works building. So they would have a lot of interest potentially in being able to be located in our facility that, again, would be there within their municipal city limit. So we've included some space for them to be able to locate offices, have some meeting and conference space, but also have access easily to the floor and really work closely with county emergency management staff. Also up on that slide in the top left-hand corner would be a cafeteria space. They would have some breakout space for staff for regular business operations here, but then also a food preparation area that would accommodate a larger scale activation. This is kind of moving just to the left of that portion of the building you saw on the last slide. That main area that's got some rows of boxes, that's representative of racks for IT space. So that would be our data center for the radio system. And this also would accommodate all of our existing racks for county IT. So we could presumably vacate the 2 data centers now located in the administration building and free up some additional space for other uses and demands on that particular building here on this campus. Just below that, then you've got the emergency radio communications staff space, a lot of cubicled workspace, a conference room, and an office. And then also this would be sort of their command center when they do have activations that are needing strong communication support. And then I won't talk in too much detail about it, but the gray areas back to the left, and you'll see additional space in the next slide, is really for the mechanical operations of the building, all the generators, electrical, water, and you'll catch the other set of those so that we can make sure that this facility can truly operate 24/7. And then you do see one other, I'll go ahead and just mention that, green equipment storage space. That's really a large bulk storage space for emergency operations today. You saw a lot of those pictures from the basement of the jail today on where they're storing a lot of equipment in various locations. I will mention that this does not address the command post storage or where we park the command post. Or any of the other storage in terms of generators, boats, et cetera, that are currently out at our Lindenwood facility by Blanchette Park. This is really just about the people and the equipment that you need immediate access to where you're really wanting to manage a lot of inventory. This is a really bad picture, and I apologize, but I couldn't find a good way of fitting it on the slide. There on your right in the kind of pinkish reddish area, that goes back to the main public entrance of the building. So that once you come into that public space, you'd have access into the media room there on their right, and that would also serve as general meeting space and training space. Have access to restrooms, but beyond that, the rest of the facility, to get beyond that, is additional secured doors. As you go down further in that hallway, you've got the training space there on your right, it's in blue. That could be to potentially either one training space or opened up, or a smaller area for smaller groups. And as well as we've got showers, locker rooms, and bunk space throughout the rest of that facility as you make your way back down the hallway to the mechanical areas of the building. So this is kind of all of that put back together so you can get a little bit of a better sense of how all of that was laid out. And what they've recommended for us, based upon the amount of square footage we're trying to get into the facility and the layout of the particular property that we now own there, is to not attempt to build a basement. But we do have enough square footage where we're not going to be looking at wanting to build one very long linear facility. And so they've recommended to us that we build a partial second floor, and that would be our dispatch operations center. Once you came up into that still secured area there from the public entrance on their right, there's also a private employee entrance that's available on the left. You'd have administrative space, so we've really just allocated that today to 2 small offices and a large group of cubicles and otherwise open workspace for all of the administrative staff, training staff, quality assurance officers of dispatch and alarm, and sheriff's dispatch. and then one consolidated dispatch operations floor. We've mentioned many times in communications with dispatchers that when we do have the opportunity to be able to move into a new building, we don't have any interest in building walls between sheriff's dispatch and dispatch and alarm, that we have really one consolidated space that gives us much more flexibility to be able to respond to what's going on. And you'll see that that space is there allocated on the left, along with some storage and restroom facilities on the second floor. This will also give us an opportunity to potentially have some outdoor rooftop space there. It's at the very bottom of the photograph, or the drawing, so that we'd have access to be able to provide break time space and outdoor areas for those dispatchers, so that they're not getting further away from their dispatch position when they're still on duty and needing to be able to take calls, but be able to get out and get some fresh air. That's the extent of what I had for you this evening in terms of showing you some of the highlights from the master plan. I will most definitely send the full report document downstairs, give you an opportunity to start thinking about that a little bit more, and then over the next couple of months, I'm sure we'll be continuing to talk in much further detail about what that plan entails and how we potentially go about being able to fund that facility. And then once we get to the point of, saying, yes, this is indeed something that we want to build, depending on how far that timeline is down the road, we've been, certainly advised by Ross and Berrezzini that once we engage an architect, you'll want to revisit all of the things that you gathered throughout your master plan process. Verify that your space requirements are the same that they are 5 years from now or 3 years from now, whenever we decide to move forward on that facility. And that your adjacencies are still the same. Then they'll go about designing what that particular facility would actually look like. So, in terms of any questions that you might have about, okay, well, what does it look like? We're certainly not to that point yet in terms of the master planning process. Questions?
Joe, go
I
ahead.
got just a couple of real quick ones. I'm familiar with that piece of ground, and on the southeast corner of that ground, that's rougher than a cob there. But there's a piece of ground right at the corner of Tom Ginevra and Sheriff Deeker, right across from that's for sale. It's a bean field. I don't know what they want for it, but if you're really down the road, if that facility expands, that's the prime piece of ground, not that southeast corner. Secondly, I've lived along that's along the Mississippi River corridor there. You're on that whole facility is on a bluff overlooking the Mississippi bottoms. I live 2 or 3 miles up there. I wouldn't want to be in that top floor of that building when there was a big serious storm. I think of a hardened building or a bunker. I think of what you see at Bush Wildlife. Here's a building or a storage facility and 2 big berms of dirt on either side. A 2-story building through there, there's some hellacious storms that whip through that bottoms down there. I've seen them my whole life down there. So, I would strongly look at that. There's plenty of ground out in that area. I'd think about getting that thing flat and make it as hard as a rock if it was me.
We can absolutely address those in further detail when I've got Rocky with me to be able to bring a little bit more detail to the conversation. But, the Greene County facility is the one that I use as an example. That facility was built, it is a backup state EOC location. It was built after Joplin, and they took the building of that facility very, very seriously. It's actually very similar in terms of structural layout as to what's on the first floor, what's on the second floor. And it's a 2-story building, and the supports internally that go into that are significant. So yes, I think, indeed are picking up some additional cost by attempting to do a second floor because of that support that's necessary. But given the site and the review that Ross and Berrezzini did for us, their recommendation was on that particular site still to go up as opposed to down. And we'd certainly love that other location, that it's certainly right across the street, and you don't have the same very long, narrow parcels as you do here. But you'll recall that we were able to make that initial purchase of that property in 2008, 2009, for a very good cost. We've looked at the price on the other parcel, and it's
The
not
land
quite
to
as
the
good.
west of the site that we own now, though, is pretty flat ground, and there's nothing on it either. So what I'm saying is with the extra cost of building that thing 2-story, you could buy another acre of ground left to the west of it.
As far as I think the appropriate answer on that one is that the property owner there is not interested in selling. Directly to the west of us, I think, is still going to remain owned by the church. So I don't believe that that portion of the property is for sale.
Jennifer, I'm sorry, again, tell me why it makes sense to build up rather, other than, you're missing out on sunlight and the ability to go outside and get fresh air. But what's the advantage of going up again versus down? Because,
And the very uneducated answer that I'm able to give is that the support structure necessary to build up there was actually cheaper than it would be to build the necessary basement in that particular type of facility. And it also deals with then where do you locate some of the mechanical structures within the building? That you no longer have the ability to put some of those things, I don't think this is a good example, but I just go back to generators and things where you no longer can have those sitting, you don't want those above workspaces that are below you. And you deal then with a lot of vibration issues, sound issues, and other things. But we'll certainly gather some information from Rocky and give you a better answer. I'll send you a follow-up with an email.
Cheyenne Mountain, they built it into the mountain. That's the
yes.
limit of my abilities to know about it. They certainly didn't put it on top of the mountain.
We started out
They go into the mountain.
at the master plan process. We actually had not owned that second parcel, the 6 acres, 4 acres, 4. That we only own the 6 to the east. So we started out the master plan process of, okay, say, give me a building and how would we structure it if it were located on that far eastern portion of the parcel. And once we got into, and maybe it's just an issue of in that particular facility, we'd be looking at a walkout basement of sorts. And then maybe that's where some of the costs that came in, if we weren't looking at that, it wasn't cost prohibitive, but very much guided away from doing that on any portion of that property.
Okay.
I just had one question. Do we really want to have public access to a critical emergency facility? I noticed they had that one area that was being dedicated for public, and
It's public access, but it's still approved public access. So you're still gaining access to the facility by speaking with someone and gaining access into that building. And when I talk about the public space versus the others, you really have that different set of doors then that you'd have to proceed past, and you're really, at that point, you're only there for an employment purpose. You're really not entering in that space for any other reason. So the public access, while it is indeed available for the media to be able to enter into, whether we wanted to host meetings or training sessions for outside jurisdictions, that you're still not just walking up and opening the door. You still have to have somebody grant you access into that building, and we'd have a variety of intercom and camera systems that would allow for that to happen.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you
Okay,
very much.
thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, so next we have the consent agenda. Is there any items that people would like to pull off for separate discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, next we have bills for final passage.
Bill number 4145, an ordinance approving the amended planned unit development of Park Charles South for Plat 7, Lot 585, to allow a single-family residence as per application 24149.
Any questions, comments about that one? Seeing none, next one, please.
An ordinance approving the amended planned unit development of Park Charles South for Plat 7, Lot 585, to allow a single-family residence as per application 24149. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 4146.
Bill number 4146, an ordinance establishing new traffic regulations and establishing penalties for violations thereof.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, read it and vote.
An ordinance establishing new traffic regulations and establishing penalties for violations thereof. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 4147.
Bill number 4147, an ordinance amending the 2014 budget adopted by ordinance 13-092 and authorizing a supplemental appropriation for the Sheriff's Department in the amount of $103,500 for additional revenue from the U.S. Department of Justice for the 2014 Internet Crimes Against Children's ICAC Task Force Fund.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, call the vote.
An ordinance amending the 2014 budget adopted by ordinance 13-092 and authorizing a supplemental appropriation for the Sheriff's Department in the amount of $103,500 for additional revenue from the U.S. Department of Justice for the 2014 Internet Crimes Against Children's ICAC Task Force Fund. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Next bill, please.
Bill number 4148, an ordinance amending the 2014 budget adopted by ordinance 13-092 by transferring appropriations between budget categories in the Office of Dispatch and Alarm.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, call the vote.
An ordinance amending the 2014 budget adopted by ordinance 13-092 by transferring appropriations between budget categories in the Office of Dispatch and Alarm. Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Okay, next we have tabled bills, which there aren't any announcements and miscellaneous items. Any announcements, Dave?
I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and be careful out on the roads.
Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate that. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't see it, Steve.
Charles West named after him on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night at the turkey game between St. Charles High and St. Charles West. It's quite an honor for Mr. Hollander.
It wasn't a secret.
Okay, thank you very much.
It wasn't a secret.